it might happen that you will not be truly happy about the colors on the image. How to resolve that? For example, fix the saturation, work with the colors. I'm not going to do anything more over here in the basic. Of course, you might want to change the temperature or tint, but I rather like to keep the images natural. And the colors is something we work later in Photoshop, so I don't really manipulate. Maybe if someone wants, if customer or you want the image to have warmer or colder, you can work slightly with the temperature. When I work with colors, of course, I skip the tone curve. This is other way how you can bring up the shadows, etc. As you can see, you can do this over here, but personally, I prefer to do this in the basic panel. I do not sharpen my images, and it's very important for you to not do this. This is also something you do later in Photoshop. And finally, we get into a panel called Hue, Saturation, Luminance, Grayscale. And here is the time to work with colors. As you can see, we have very separate colors. We have reds, and you can easily manipulate with them. You can go from reds into more oranges. So then, as you can see, I'm losing the reds, which not giving me truly nice effect. And then from reds into sort of pinky. And also if I overdo this, it will not be nice looking. So at the value 0, I have really nice colors right now. But usually you're probably going to work with yellows and reds as the dominant on your skin. So you might have some mistakes. You might have some hand discoloration that you would like to fix. For example, your hand or some object will be desaturated compared to the face. Then you can easily work with the saturation over here. So with such a case, you can just simply bring up some saturation. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to work with the saturation, because what I see in camera, I don't have as many colors as I wish. So I want to make the face more vital. I want to give some extra color and also make more saturation on the reds. And I'm going to press P on the keyboard. That's before and after. As you can see, it looks much better when I add slightly more saturation for the oranges and red. I don't think it's going to do the same job with yellows, as we don't have that many yellows on the image, I believe. So I would work slightly with reds and oranges, and I don't see many other colors, but I would try with blues and cyans if I could find some of them maybe on the background, but it's also not that many of them. So I will stay with this. And the other thing, of course, I'm not going to work with the colors over here because I'm rather happy with the colors I have. I don't want to get rid of these reds. I don't want to make them too pinky, of course. Eventually, we could work on some specific objects, but I'm going to show you this just in 1 second. And the last part is of course, luminance in this hue, saturation, luminance. So basically, it's operating with the light on specific color. When I'm going to take down luminance on the reds, as you can see, I'm taking away the light from the red colors on the image. In this case, it's lips, etc. So it's really useful if you want to add some gloss maybe, or if some of your color is overexposed. When I bring it up, as you can see, the lips look sort of Barbie. I don't really like this effect. I'm going to keep this very simple. We could check if yellows works, but as we talked before, we don't have that many yellows. So I won't be doing this, but that could be a good method maybe to take down some of the exposure from the highlighted area. But I don't work with this. So as you can notice, mostly I use just saturation. I don't really work with hue and luminance, but saturation is very powerful, once again, to restore some colors, to recover colors, to add additional color push to your image, all or often to fix the image discoloration. So right now I'm going to open the image in Photoshop, but I'm going to do this in a specific way. Let's hit this sign on the bottom over here. The color space, it's quite important. Many people would recommend ProPhoto RGB. I'm working right now with ProPhoto RGB as well, because I set like this in Photoshop as well. But for you, what's important is to make sure you're not working with sRGB. You can work with Adobe RGB. It's absolutely fine. Many people would say to you, you have to work with ProPhoto RGB. Of course, it's useful because it's the biggest color space, simply speaking, but Adobe RGB is just enough to work with. So make sure you're working with ProPhoto RGB or Adobe RGB. And on the bottom over here, we have this sign open in Photoshop as a smart object. You can check this. So then your image will be opened in Photoshop already as a smart object, or you can press Shift and open as an object. And in the next lesson, I will explain you why I opened this image as a smart object.